welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 4 race starts. We're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
What a dig! 5.6 watts per kilo. This is absolute commitment from Bremner. She's committed to go up and over and try and stretch that group and, make it smaller again.
When you get a rider going through fast, boy, do they come through. They use that draft and they attack through. And that's what we've seen here. Lisa Hermansen came from the back of that pack, attacked over the bridge, kicked on through, and it has provoked a response, but she's able to use it, and I think that makes it more dynamic.
It's definitely Category 2 that are motoring. They are reeling in Category 3, and you can see that because Natalia Becerra has already been caught, and they are onto the back of that Category 3 race field.
The pace that they are moving, they are going to come blasting past not just Tan, but they're also going to come through past Gentili. I think they're going to go past the leaders in Category 3 very, very quickly. They're making the catch. This is the front of the race overall. Category 2 caught Category 4.
We said they were motoring.
Yeah,
we said
flying.
Category 2 were motoring today. They were absolutely adamant they were pushing on.
She's leading this out. She's got the gap. 5 seconds is the gap now. Super Sony, it's 9 seconds to Koivunen. The pressure of chasing has split 2 and 3 here on the road.
Category 2 leaders on the road have just gone under the polka dot banner, signifying the start of the final Category 4 climb of the day. They are around 500 metres ahead of the leader of the Category 1 race. But it's Gennady now who's riding clear of Monica Rona and Dana Davidson. Gennady is seeing that finish banner now for the first time. She's going to be the winner in the Category 2 race.
Hello and welcome. It's MyWhoosh. It's the Sunday Race Club. It is the monthly final of our women's competition. What a way to end the year, but to be bringing you the action here on MyWhoosh. My name is Matt Payne. I'm here in the studio with
Emma Martin.
It's great to be with you, Emma, for another of our fantastic races. And the finals are always entertaining because we have our team competition as well as our individual competition. And the teams are absolutely packed. And because it is the finals, we've got a cracking race. One of our favourite racing routes. It is the outer loop in Australia with that big climb right in the middle of the course. We've got a couple of sections that are very, very tricky on the way through. Emma, take us through some more detail.
Yeah, so 35 kilometres of racing, 593 metres of climbing, and it is a great racing course, this one. You have got to be with the group going over the top of that climb because that run in, that last 14.3 kilometres after the Canberra climb, well, that is really fast and furious. So at 15.3 kilometres, Canberra climb comes into play. It's 5.4 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 7.6%, but it is steep and it is stepped. The first step goes to 13%, the second to 12%, and the final to 16%. This is going to be a cracker. I've got my party top on. It's New Year's Eve. Let's race.
Well, here we go. Time to see who knows exactly where that finish is, which is one of the trickiest parts of this race route. We're going to kick off with our Category 4 riders. Category 4 riders, we have some great teams on board our standard category. We have got the CKI team. Watch out for Geraldo on the climb, Petilla Fours. Well, Bremner and Hyde and Lloyd could well be any one of those three for the Phoenix squad. Now, Jacqueline Francisca de Silva Kirchner could be the pick for the climber today, and Helen Connell in Power West could well be the rider who's going to be up there. They are just some of the riders. In fact, we're not going to read you through all the riders right now in those teams because it is an absolutely stacked field. So our riders are ready to move. They are going to be taking us out from the start.
Well, the power goes down on the final race of the year as away go Category 4. They are the first team away on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club finale in December. It's the 31st and we are expecting fireworks.
Well, who's going to fizzle and who's going to pop and who's going to bang? Time to find out. Emma, do you want to take us through the teams in a little bit more detail as we just run off to the first climb of the day?
19 riders on the start sheets in Cat 4 today, 4 teams as you mentioned, Matt. Now for me it is, well, I think this is a serious race between Petit 4 and Phoenix. Now it was indeed Phoenix who took it from Petit 4 in the November final, but a number of those riders, in fact the top 3 riders in the November final, have progressed to Category 3 this month. I think this is going to be a really great race. So Bremner, Hyde and Lloyd from Petit 4 have all had multiple top 5s. In fact, Hyde 2 firsts, a second and a third. Bremner a first and a second. Lloyd 2 seconds and a fifth. They have got to be the team on form at the moment. But Phoenix, Galeno's had a fourth. Arrayas has had a first and 2 thirds. That's another rider on form to keep an eye out for today. And Kirchner and Sarasak have both had top 5s as well. So those 2 teams for me, well, it's going to be a cracker.
It is going to be a cracker already. We're starting to see the string out on the front. It's starting to stretch. So let's see who is going to take it. It is a little bit fractured here. So the riders are making their way up on to this first little climb. Now, this is part of the Parameter circuit. If you go ride on MyWhoosh, you'll often see that the Parameter is used for the MyBot section and also for the My Racing loops. Jump on board. The Parameter routes very, very often used. This is the first climb that's actually on that loop, and as you can see, it's already causing people to dig into the red. We're seeing a split in the bunch on the bottom left-hand side. That's satellite navigation, that radar view down there, and at the moment, it is starting to stretch. It's starting to open up the gaps. There are riders starting to be dropped at this stage. Sonnerson at the moment with Hyde, with Lloyd on the front of this group. It's going to be interesting. Carry that momentum over the top. Going to be key. Will it split? Will we see a selection now?
This first little climb on this course on the outer loop in Australia always is a potential determining factor as to whether you can stay on the group, and it's essential to, whilst not push on at the front, make sure you stay on the back of the group. That is what is absolutely crucial at this critical point in the race. You're not going to win it here, but you could definitely lose it here, and we're starting to see riders get shed out the back now. Can they push on those pedals and close that gap back down? And will this group allow them to, or will these teams start to drill and keep the pace on at the front so that those riders who have got distance on that short climb section, I say short climb section, it did hit 7%, so it might be short, but it is steep. So can those riders get back onto this leading group? Well, in this leading group at the moment, it's Ferron leading it out from Sonnerson, from Hyde. Kirchner is in there. Flores is in there. Bremner is in there. You know, this is a strong leading pack, and they have distanced those now, and you can see that on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You can see with that graphic very, very clearly now that gap formed between the groups.
And we are watching the group in the center of the circle. So the center of the circle, rather than the ones at the bottom of the circle. So you can see that on the 2 satellite navigation views. You see that on the red on the right hand side, those are our category 4. On the blue on the left, these are our category 3 riders. There are our next riders to go, and we've got some great teams in here. 2 individual riders in Birdie and Driscoll and Molly Weston. We've got Golden Light in Team Golden Light. For the Cycling Warriors, watch out for Arias in there. The Hub Zone, well, De Grazia, Tan, or maybe even Gerardo could be their big scorers. For the Vixens, Madera and Becker, and for the Warrior Reindeer, De Silva, Gentili, Isaac and Giuliano. Can't actually split any one of those 4 riders out of the group there in the team competition. So our riders all lined up ready to go in our teams. 3 riders to count for the scores. We have a selection of riders, all those teams waiting to see if they can make it count today. It's Category 3, the second wave of riders away. It's MyWhoosh, it's the Sunday Race Club. It is New Year's Eve where we are here in the UK. It's time to see if our riders are going to party on. Time to go. So here we go. We're both just as eager.
We are.
Look at that. Identical timing. So let's see if they can set off as fast as we do both at the same time. He's looking good at the moment. Now, this course, Emma, in Category 3, we've been on here before in Category 3. These teams that we've got the Cycling Warriors, Hub Zone, Vixens, the Warrior Reindeers, and Team Golden Light. It's very hard actually to split these teams out, isn't it? It's very competitive.
It is, and last time Category 3 raced this course, last time the women raced this course was actually in the September final, so some time ago. And in Category 3, the top 3, it was a sprint going in. The top 3 were separated by 0.2 of a second. It was that close. In fact, the top 2 teams, and bearing in mind it's the top 3 riders in each team score or time added together that gives that team competition, the top 2 teams in Category 3 were separated by 0.69 of a second. So that was a huge 6-up sprint in Category 3 into the finish. So this really is a strong race field, and I know some of the riders have progressed this month, but just looking at the lineup, the Warrior Reindeers team, De Silva, Gentili, Izik and Giuliano, every single one of those riders has had a first or a second this month in the qualifiers. But saying that, the Hub Zone, Tan, Tanglian, Geraldo, De Gracia and Pelagio, a strong set of competitors. Hill, Arias, Lopez, Barco and Garcia from the Cycling Warriors. That's another strong squad. Now, one of the things that I'm quite surprised about in Category 3 is that Molly Weston has not picked up a team. She's had a first and second this month, and as an individual rider may cause some difficulties in that team competition.
Indeed, we're going to keep a check on those riders as they come in and through. We'll remember, of course, our sheets we're working on. We work on those on the way through in the run in, and we're hoping that there's been no changes since we've got them, but of course there is a little bit of time lag between us printing them, scribbling all over them, and the start of the show. So you never know, they may well have picked up Western, but look at the racing out here. I'll tell you something, these guys have got no time lag whatsoever. Already seeing riders distanced off the back. This is a fantastic shot looking back because you can see the damage that's being done. It shows you just how hard the racing is because you've got riders off the back now fighting to get back on board this descent that drops down. The riders pick up speed and the pack has the advantage because of the draft. This group are going well off the back. We do have some strong riders though.
Yeah, and it's Geraldo, from the Hub Zone who's pushing on at the front here and ensuring this pace stays high. Hill from the Cycling Warriors is also up there as well, pushing on with Arias. So it's the Hub Zone and the Cycling Warriors who are on the warpath at the moment at the front of this pack. Now, can one of those Warrior Reindeer riders be caught out here? I don't think that's possible, but you just never know.
You don't, and that is one of the key things. We don't know, but they will know because hopefully they're all talking to each other. The riders in the teams are making sure that they communicate. They will know what they're doing, what the plan is. Is Helen Connell, for example, at the moment just pushing on to take that sprint, or is she going to keep squeezing when she goes through the sprint line and heading off? Our sprints, if you've not watched before, do not count for the overall. They don't count in terms of prize money, but what they do is award the green skin suit, which you now see done in the shoulders of Helen Connell, who has taken that. Will she keep going? Will she not? Well, her teammates will know because they will be talking. So Category 4 through the sprint, Category 3 over the first line. Category 2, they are all ready to go, and it is the riders in those green jerseys of Category 2 are going to be away. Now, lots of teams in here. In the Wine Guns teams, watch out for Lytton and Vink, two of their very strongest riders in the Sunday crew. Well, Giannatti got to be the pick of those riders for me. Chucker Mintos. Watch out for Stefania Sanchez. Always good when it goes uphill. The Grind My Gears, well, difficult pick, but I would go for Conan as being probably their star climber there. In the Maniacs team, Monica Rona has shown she's super strong. In Pirate Party team, best name of the day by far. It is Julia Walkenhurst would be my pick, but I'm not going to be 100% on that one. And the Sunflower team, Alzate may well be the pick, but the riders, they are going to show us whether we're going to be right or wrong.
Well, they are indeed going to show Matt whether they're right or wrong as those green jerseys move out the start pen. 30 riders on the start sheets today. Those 7 teams absolutely packed with quality as we move across the boardwalk and out to take that left-hand turn, which moves us towards that first climb of the day. And this pack already up to pace. 40 kilometres an hour within the first 100 metres. The momentum is motoring. They sweep round the corner. And well, this for me is going to be the most competitive team competition.
So I looked at the start sheets. I always do this. Emma and I have very different ways of working out who we're looking at here. I am very much reflects my racing and my riding. It's all done on feel, on passion. It's not done on stats. That's not happening. Meanwhile, Emma does this all on data, on stats, and on actual facts and figures rather than feel. That's true of the training, the riding,
and the professor.
Yeah, there is somebody who is data driven in this studio. And
evidence-based analysis.
Exactly, and it reflects in how you ride and how you race. I'm going to get something thrown at me from the other side of the studio.
No, you're not, because it's quite true.
It's got you on plenty of podiums, so I'm not going to be too complimentary here, but you've been on plenty of national podiums to prove that. Now, I haven't, and that's probably reflected in I'm done on field. So my picks are done on field. You've heard my picks. The riders are on the climb. It's still one bunch, pretty much. We've got one rider distance at the moment off the back. Whilst these riders are continuing to squeeze over the first part of the climb, Emma, do the data. Let's have a little bit of a look at the riders in a bit more detail.
Well, this category 2 pack, 30 riders on those start sheets. And for me, this is going to be a really interesting race. And I think this is going to come down to tactics and what happens on that climb when we get to that 15.3 kilometre mark. Because the Pirate Party train, instantly on paper, you think, it's theirs, but I'm not sure it is. So Walkenhurst has had 2/3 and a 4th, Montgomery a 5th, Smithers a 4th and a 5th, and Svardström 2 firsts. That's the entirety of their team. However, the Sunday group crew, Davison a 2nd and a 3rd, Giannatti a 1st, a 2nd and a 5th, Sarmiento Martinez a 3rd and a 4th. They've also got Zimmerman and Daniel. Neither of them are slouches.
Nope.
Chocomintos, well, Takanis Rua has had a 4th and a 5th, and Alzat has had a 2nd. We know Sanchez can ride strongly. We know Montoya can ride strongly. And, well, on this course in the September final, Montoya finished in 3rd place. So, really, those 3 teams, this for me is about the 3rd rider.
It's not
and
about
where that 3rd rider finishes and what the time gaps are. So the time gaps for this category 2 race going over the top of that climb and whether they expand or shrink is going to be absolutely crucial in this Cat 2 race.
So a quick reminder, as Emma said earlier on, it's about the 3 riders times added together, your fastest 3 riders, the people, the team with the smallest time taken, shortest time taken to cover the course as 3 riders put together is the winning team, and the second fastest, second place, and so on. So that means that the 3rd counter, it's all very well having 1 superstar on your team, maybe even 2, but if your 3rd counter can't hit the numbers, you're not necessarily going to be there.
This depends, because it also is about if any riders can break away, what time gap they can put in. Because if you've got one really strong rider and they can put a 2-minute time gap in, that gives the rest of your team some leeway.
Well, we are going to see. We've got 3 sets of riders out, categories 4, 3, and 2. Category 1 are going to be our last riders on the road. They are the fastest riders. We've got Rule 5 in here. Stephanie Siddick riding in the Rule 5 team. The Croissant crew. Well, the Menezes, Giovanni and Whitelaw in there for the Risky Biscuits. Fua, Coyson, Donny and Bjarhead. Colombi in Spartan Obstacles could be your rider. Manshandi and Bassoni are great riders to back them up. In Team Europe, will it be Anna Emmering, Cornelia Ekstrom, or Lisa Hermansen, who is on some absolutely sterling form. In fact, in Category 1, where I've put my marks on who could win, pretty much everybody's got a mark against their name on the way through here.
It's so true, as we have the countdown ready to go.
So here we are. It is time to hit the road. The very final pack of riders away in our women's race field for 2023. It's our Category 1 riders who head out from the start pens here in Australia. They're going to head down the boardwalk, take that left-hand turn and hit the hillside. How will Category 1 ride it? Will we see a blast off from the gun to try and separate riders, or are we going to see a more conservative approach to the racing and maybe see a sort of race which is a little bit more tactical until we get on to our big Canberra climb? We do have the big dip under the tunnels on the way in and through, and that is going to be utterly critical for these riders because that is a big drop and ascent. But before that, the first test round this right-hand turn, the gradient's already at 3%, and it climbs very quickly. Now, Category 1 are on the way up here, Emma. Let's keep an eye on these riders first of all, and we'll go into some depth when we go over the top of this little bit of a climb as we go through. So the riders here, Emma, are very much together on this climb at the moment. We're just starting to see a little bit of a push, but generally in Category 1, they seem to be a little bit more shrewd, a little bit more not hesitant, but they measure their effort very, very carefully, almost ultra carefully, so that they only ever put an effort in when it's going to count.
I think Category 1 know how alike their ability is. I think they race more together across esports, in real life, in all sorts of disciplines. These riders know how good and what the palmar is of the rider next to them is. That makes them think more, I think.
You think, they think more.
Everybody thinks. But I think it does make a much more tactical race. And we often see that in Cat 1. We often see a much slower start in Cat 1 than we do, for example, in Cat 2 or Cat 3.
Yep.
And we often see a more thinking person's race. That sounds really bad about the other cats, but I don't mean it that way. About where the attack is going to come and the plan that is executed by the teams.
I mean, it could be said it's a much more dull race to watch from the
Sometimes.
start.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is really steady away.
Yep.
Off from the start pens. Now, Category 1 are up over the top of the hill. Emma, just dive in a little bit more detail into the team riders. Now they've gone over the top and we saw 0 breakaways from them.
Yeah, exactly. So we saw 0 breakaways from them. We didn't see riders dropped off the back, and we didn't see the decimation that we've seen in some of the other categories early on. Now, Category 1 today, 22 riders on the start sheets, those 5 teams you discussed, Matt. Every team has a rider that has finished in the top 5 this month in the 4 qualification rounds. Every team has great riders in terms of where the wins have come from. Across those wins, 4 different riders have taken 4 different qualification wins this month in Cat 1. So the spread is phenomenal. Looking on paper, and I say looking on paper because I'm not sure paper is going to give us the answer today, but looking on paper, you would think this is a race between Spartan Obstacles and Risky Biscuits. So Spartan Obstacles, Columbi, Rua, Manshandi, Bassoni and Kasani. Risky Biscuits, Fua, Coinson, Donny and Biarhead. However, Rule 5, Velt has been really strong. Sidlick has been really strong this month. You can't discount Kimberly Miller. The Croissant Crew's got Menendez and Whitelaw in there, as well as Kalman, Jovi and Prado. And Team Europe, well, who would bet against Embring, Van Hove, Lunding, Emström and Hermansen, particularly in terms of tight packing?
Yes, in terms of being a very close team with very minimal gaps, almost coming across like a team time trial. Yeah, and I think that this mix of riders is going to make for a very close final. I think particularly in Category 1, and as you say, I think for all of those reasons. So Category 4 and 3 and 2 are through our very first sprint. Category 4 already into the climb away from the tunnels. Category 3, on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, diving down into the tunnels, chasing Category 4. Categories 2 and 1 still out in the outdoors, just heading past the Opera House on the right-hand side, transported across. And in fact, if you were in the area, you could head out and across into the Harbour Bay area this evening in Australia for a fireworks display, massive fireworks display for New Year's Eve in Wollongong tonight. So if you are actually racing in Australia and you're down in the Wollongong area, I know you've been suffering from some storms and you've had a whole load of disruption down there, but hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, you're going to have a really good evening. Get yourselves down to the Dicey Riley Hall. There's some great tunes on tonight down there.
So whilst I have been making copious notes about riders and the racing today, Matt has been exploring for his research today what you can do around the world on New Year's Eve. Because whether you are in a time zone ahead of us or a time zone behind us here in the UK, there's something for everyone.
Yeah, people are around the world. And I've got today in Australia, in Wollongong, there's loads of celebrations going on. There's a carnival that's going to be taking place the next 3 weeks, actually, in there. It's a family carnival with some street food vendors as well down in the Wollongong area. If you wanted to go down there, you might want some spending money. Now, if you want some spending money to go buy yourself whichever food of choice you're going to get from the many vendors that are going to be down there, you're going to need to win some prize money to do that. And I think it's time for us to look at what our riders are racing for today in terms of top 5 positions, because there is some great money up for grabs in categories 4, 3, 2, and category 1. So category 4, our standard category. In addition to the individual classification, we have the team competition in the middle. Now, 3 riders to count, 5 riders, the maximum riders in your team. The cumulative time of your 3 riders will give you that race result, and it can be very tight indeed. Now, first prize in category 4 is 10,800 AED, ranging right down to 1,080 AED for 5th place. Big prizes, big prize money, particularly when you think that we have, in addition, the individual classification as well. And if you are up there in the team competition, the odds are you're going to be up there in the individual classification. But we want to see all of these prizes going out there. Remember, in our categories, we need 5 teams to pay out all those 5 prizes in the team competition. Now, category 4 is the base level. Category 3 is the next level up. You can see that the prize money jumps up. We're up to 18,000 AED for a win in the team competition in category 3. 3,600, I might even be able to say it, 3,600 AED for first place in the individual competition. And that means that the prizes have increased. When we go from category 3 over to category 2, we then see a lift up again. Now, the 18,000 AED is dropped down to second place. The top prize in the team competition is a huge 30,000 AED. In addition to a top prize in the individual classification, lifting up to 6,000 AED. You can see the prize fund increasing from category 4 to category 3 to category 2. When we get to our fastest riders, the riders in category 1, well, this is a huge prize fund. We have 2,000 AED for 5th place individually, 4,000 AED for 4th place individually, 6,000 AED for 3rd place individually, 8,000 AED for 2nd place individually, and a huge 10,000 AED for the individual winner. If they're part of the winning teams, 5,000 AED for 5th, 10,000 AED for 4th, 20,000 AED for 3rd, 30,000 AED for 2nd, and an enormous, mind-blowing 50,000 AED for 1st place in the team competition. That is well worth turning yourself inside out, seeing fireworks, seeing stars, and seeing the red mist descend, because that is a great prize fund. Now, let's head out around the world. We talked about the riders coming from around the globe. Emma, It's time for Emma's Exchange. Where in the world da-da-da-ba-bam, are we for Emma's Exchange?
Well, for Emma's Exchange today, we are heading to Christmas Island, the first place in the world who will see the new year in.
Okay.
19 hours ahead of New York City. The currency on Christmas Island? The
Go on.
Australian dollar.
The Australian dollar. Okay.
So we are heading for Australian dollars today. 10,000 AED is 3,996 Australian dollars as per my exchange rate at the moment.
And how much is the team prize? If you were to collect up the 3 best races on Christmas Island, or maybe the 3 best races on MyWhoosh, take them to the island and then have them racing there, how much would they win?
19,981 Australian dollars.
There you go. So, if you want to spend it in Australian dollars, that's how many Australian dollars you're going to get to spend. And that could be, of course, if you on Christmas Island, you may have gone to Wollongong, where our riders are racing now for your Christmas and New Year celebrations. Okay, let's get back to the racing. 4 categories on the road. At the moment, still big groups in each of our 4 categories, irrespective of where they are on the race route, because at the moment, we are still heading across towards the major climb. Now, the Category 4 riders have ascended out from the tunnels, out from the lowest point on the course today, and are coming back into town. The riders on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, they're Category 3. They are just approaching the summit of that ascent out from the tunnels. Category 2, they are just about to start the ascent. And Category 1, top left-hand side of your screen, are about to dive down into the tunnels. And this is where we may well see a little bit of a squeeze as they come over the bridge here. It's a slight rise and then a dip down into the tunnels. So, heading down, in, through, and out the other side from Category 1 to Category 4.
Category 2 here, Matt, are really interesting for me. These guys have had the fastest start because each category starts 5 minutes after each other. So for our viewers who are new to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, Category 4 start first, 5 minutes to Category 3, 5 minutes to Category 2, and then 5 minutes to Category 1. So Category 1 starting 15 minutes after Category 4. Now this leaves Category 4 as the leaders on the road until they get caught, if they get caught. And looking at those time gaps and the kilometres that these race fields have travelled so far, it's still holding more than 2 kilometres between Category 3 and 4. But Category 2 are on the chase, you know, because there's around 1 kilometre between this leading Category 2 bunch and the Category 3 bunch. Category 1 are around 2.5 kilometres behind, so a much steadier start for them.
And we talk about the sprint. We were saying a little bit earlier that they don't contribute to the overall classification. Our first sprint of the day, the Sydney sprint, that came at 4.2 kilometres. All of our riders have gone through in categories 4, 3, 2, and 1. The fastest set of riders through there, pretty much exclusively, are the category 3 riders, with Molly Weston actually of category 3 going through. Then category 2, massive block of riders going through. Category 1 have gone through, and I think the fastest rider in category 1 is in 38th place in terms of times through the sprint, with a chasing group behind the majority of the pack in the 40s overall. I mean, they're not trying very hard.
They've ridden through the sprint at a steady pace, because I'm taking a look at the pace they've gone through that sprint segment. It's around 2.93 watts per kilo. That's a rolling pace for this category 1 pack. In fact, taking a look at them at the moment, you know, those numbers are rolling around 2.5 watts per kilo. That's a really, really steady pace. Looking at the heart rate information of Gonzalez Rua at the moment, sitting at around 130, it's definitely very different to the information we've got of the category 3 pack, where De Gracia's heart rate's up at 170.
It is. I think we're fast approaching the point where the category 3 riders are going to be the first set of riders on the road. There are a few category 4 in front, but I think the pace that category 3 are working, you can see that on their watts per kilo here. They're very similar numbers, if not higher. And we've got to remember, I mean, people watching this at home, if you jump on board and you think, blimey, category the category one, they're rolling. They're talking about 2.5 watts per kilo being an easy pace. That's not for me. You've got to remember, category one are some of the best riders in the world, indoors and out.
Yes, that is very true. We have riders who have finished in the top 10 in the Esports World Championships in category one.
And we have riders who race on continental
Yep.
teams, who race around the globe on the road. We have riders in category one who race on mountain bike, on various different disciplines. And it does make a difference, doesn't it? You've got a lifetime of professional sport. You're going to be training.
But there is
and
something
resting.
for everyone, which is what I love about the Sunday Race
Yeah.
Club. These 4 categories are dynamic, and the movement between them is great. We see riders progress and move. We see riders, solidly maintaining their category because that is their category. The likes of Nikki Lloyd, who is one of the Cat 4 riders on the screen at the moment, started racing a bike this year. She started racing exclusively on esports and has been part and parcel of the Sunday Race Club, and has progressed. She's progressed to finishing in the top 5 in this category. She's had 2 seconds and a 5th this month, which is fantastic to see. Someone who is new to cycling. So there is something for everybody.
But everybody does have to go up our big climb, and that is where category 4 are right now.
This is it.
So you can see in front the polka dot banner that begins the climb, the start of the ascent up on to the top of the Canberra climb. A quick reminder, this climb is a long climb in terms of the Australian courses, 5.4 kilometers long. The riders go past the waterfalls on the right. They go underneath the banner, and this is the beginning of the climb. The fastest rider to the top of the climb today in terms of time will be the rider who takes the polka dots skin suit in each of our race categories. So categories 4, 3, 2, and 1 will be awarded their own individual polka dots jersey for whoever goes up fastest. And remember, that's not necessarily the first over the line, it's the person with the fastest time.
And look at that, Bridget Bremner comes to the fore. We've seen her climbing prowess this month on show. She's had a 1st and a 2nd this month, really, really highlighting her form, and she took that 1st on the Heritage Climb course. Now that's a strong set of climbing legs she's got. So coming to the fore on this climb, Francis coming up as well. So is Arias. Hyde is there as well. So the riders we would expect in category 4 now coming to the fore, but nobody dropping off the back as we're in the early foothills. And I say the early foothills of this climb. It is a long climb, 5.4 kilometers, and there are some exceptionally steep sections, and one of those comes right at the top when it goes over 16% under their wheels.
So if you're looking at the gradient, top right hand side of your screen, you can see at the moment 5.6%, 5.5. As we move into the climb, you can see that it gets steeper by the increasing gradient of the white line on the top. That takes us to the first platform, the first leveling. So the section that's shown there shows you the increase. The first part, the steepest part of the first part is, if I remember right, 13% or so. Then you go on to the flatter section. Category 1, they are approaching the top of the escape from the tunnels, from the low point of the course coming up to the top. We're starting to see yellow and red chevrons on there, which are an indicator the riders are starting to get a little bit deeper into their power zones, starting to push on those pedals a little bit harder. But again, it's still looking, Emma, that there's no attack here. This is not attack kind of pace. This is just squeezing up.
Yes, definitely squeezing on the pedals a little. And I say a little because the pack is still a really tight bunch. They are now starting to move their way past the back end of the category 2 race field. So they are moving strongly, but they are moving steadily. So you can see them very well matched at the moment. We're in with Lisa Hermansson. Mina Koinsinen is around with her. So is Embring and Engstrom. Bjarhed is in there as well as Donny. This pack is a tight pack. We said they were a very well matched group, and it was how the tactics tactics that were going to play out today that were really going to make this race. But they are still some way off that climb that our Category 4 riders are already I was going to say rolling up, but rolling up is probably the wrong phrase. I don't think they're going to feel like they're rolling up that climb. I think they're going to feel like they're working exceptionally hard up that climb today. Now, just noticing one rider slightly off the back of that Category 1 pack at the moment. So interesting to see, and that is Kimberly Miller at the moment, just distanced there slightly, wondering why that is, thinking maybe she's just look at that, she's just not feeling it at the moment as they've pushed on and gone to around 4.5 watts per kilo. Miller sitting sub 3, so Kimberly Miller not going with that group.
And that means that Kimberly Miller now, if she wanted to chase on, would have to put in an incredible effort, because remember, just like outdoors, you are subject to the draft effect. The more you can hide out of the wind, the less energy you have to expend for the same speed. Hiding is good, believe me. The more you stay out of the wind, the more energy you'll have for the climbing, for the sprinting, and for the finale. Onto the climb go our riders in Category 3. They are picking up riders in Category 4. The riders can draft each other's packs on the way through. It's not a unique thing to each or discrete thing to each of the categories. It applies cross-category. It does affect the racing and it does affect the tactics, but it means people have to think about their tactics, and it certainly means that we can provide some very close racing, and it does allow riders maybe who have been distanced initially to get back on. But the problem is, when you hit a climb, it's about your watts to kilo ratio. It's about your power and your ability to climb at a sustained effort. Category 4 on the right, they are really pushing hard here. They're into the second of the steps up here. Meanwhile, Category 3, they're on the base of the climb. Very different levels at the moment, Emma.
The stretch is coming, though, in Category 3 already. We saw when we looked at Category 4, the stretch that first kilometre of climbing had done, but very, very early into this climb, a real push on the front. And it's Gina de Gracia who's pushing on the front at the front of this Category 3 race from the hub zone. And we said the hub zone had a strong team today, and they are trying to play that out on this climb. Now, for me, the riders have got to think, particularly in Category 3 and Category 4, they've got to think about the top of this climb being the finish line of the race, because it is absolutely essential that they are there or thereabouts as they go over the top. So Category 4 and Category 3 now on the slopes of the climb. And you know what? Category 2 are not far behind. I think we're going to see Category 2 come up very, very fast on Category 3 and Category 4. And indeed, on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, where you can see that satellite navigation screen, look at that green blob as they go under that polka dot banner, signifying the start of the climb. The climb is littered with blue and red jerseys.
So time for them to sweep up the littering of riders. Will they take them out? Will they give them a lift to the summit? Or are they going to blast past them? The speed they've been going so far, it's likely to be the latter rather than the former. And I suspect on this climb that anyone who's got any kind of aspiration will be looking at each other, looking at the other riders like a hawk, because they need to be in the group. The summit of this climb, it is absolutely critical. You've got a very short period of time at the top of the climb to regroup before you go into the descent. If you are not on the wheel, if there is a gap between you and the rider in front, as you go over the top, that will increase as you go into the descent. The advantage is always with the group of the biggest group of riders, the bunch. However, if you can get a big enough gap, you could stretch this out and break it apart. Giannetti on the front, setting the pace, hugging the curb edge here. Over the top goes Daniel, right on the white lines. Now through the middle goes Hadlock with the yellow bandana on their right-hand side, though. The push is coming. We're just in with Monica Roden, one of the riders who we know has got a big kick. Somebody who you don't want to take down to a sprint, but somebody who can also climb. Good all-round rider, could be one of those riders who can take this out at the finish. The squeeze is on. The watts per kilo are rising. Daniel Giannetti, looks like we've got Davidson right up there. Zimmerman, Sarmiento's in this group. Taconas, Geraldo in here. These riders all looking to stay in contention, but behind, they are now starting to lose riders. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen at the satellite navigation view, that radar view, the riders at the front of this race. This is all that's left of that big group that started off onto the climb, because behind there are riders dropped all the way down the climb, pretty much to the base of the climb at the moment.
This is becoming a Sunday Crew versus the Pirate Party train feast for our eyes today. There are a couple of other riders in here, but all the riders I am ticking off of my sheets at the moment in that front group are part and parcel of those two packs. The Sunday Crew versus the Pirate Party train. Can you have a pirate party on a Sunday? Which one is going to take the win? Will one of the other squads get in there instead? Taking a look there, I'm starting to see, I think, if you look closely, Matt, at that Category 2 pack, we've got some team identification on those squads, you know. I can see a lot of red caps.
I think you can, and that is one of the ways that the teams are starting to move towards being able to identify each other. Use the same type of headwear to identify which of your riders are in which team. If it is the case, I think there's a few people
that's
maybe
a Sunday
not,
Crew, you know.
Maybe not all following. I think there might be one extra, but the Sunday Crew looking very strong at the moment in that group. I think there's some Chocaramintos in that group as well. Definitely seen Taconis up in the mix at the moment. The Calpine is in there, I think, from the Wine Gum squad as well. Do love a good wine gum. On the way up. Those of you that don't know what a wine gum is actually just a...
They're not actually made of wine.
They're a sugary fruit flavored sweet or confectionery, and they're quite chewy and they're super sweet, and they're very good actually when you're out on the bike, when you're feeling like you're having a really bad time. I know people who actually race on wine gums. I've seen it happen before on longer races, rather than necessarily a really nice, balanced, healthy food.
I think it'd be really
that.
Well, if you have an interesting confectionery of choice whilst you're racing on the Sunday Race Club, do drop us a photo of what fuel you are using as you're climbing the mountain today. The Category 2 riders are now strongly moving through the back of the Category 3 riders on that climb. The Category 4 riders still the leaders on the road, but it's the Category 1 riders who very shortly will be seeing the base of that climb. They are going to be the last pack on to the climb, onto that Canberra climb that comes at 15.3 kilometres. They're going to join Cat 2, 3 and 4. Let's see what happens on this climb, because that pack, it's a big one.
It is a big one. They're on the way in. It's the group in Category 1 going to hit the base of the climb. Just whilst we were scrolling through those screens, I did notice Gina Di Grazia in Category 3 has pushed on, solo leader. So it looks like the Hub Zone are looking to get some time in the bank with Di Grazia. Are we going to see a similar tactic in Category 1? Now they're going to send one rider, sacrificial rider maybe, up the road, who's not got the speed to go to the finish, but can climb. We are starting to see these tactics play out on the Sunday Race Club, on MyWhoosh, and we're starting to see a more tactical race being played by the teams to try and break this up, to try and get the win. Remember, you need 3 riders to count for your team prize. That means if you've got a team of 5, you've got 2 spares. Those 2 spare riders, if you've got a great climber, but a rider who maybe is not either going to make the finishing distance or can't sprint, because this could well come down to a sprint finish, it may well be the case that you send your climber up. If they get a big enough gap to go over the top and hold it to the finish, they've got sliding room. It makes the other teams work. The only thing you need to do is not give the other riders a hard enough time in your team that they go off the back. Now, on the front, Stephanie Sidley gets starting to squeeze. We saw a little bit of a kick. She's gone on to the front, being pursued here. Whitelaw, the nearest rider to her. Coyston now moving up through the group. Velt doing exactly the same to Amelia Velt. A rider, as I said, having a increasingly good set of results on the Sunday Race Club. They are pushing on there on the left-hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, this is the lead on the road. It's with Bridget Bremner at the moment. We have a small group of riders at the front. You've got Bremner, Arias, Galliano. They are all within 5 seconds of each other. Chasing then, you can see we've got Hyde at 12 seconds. That's the 4th rider on your screen. The figure just in the background. Then a big gap about 30 seconds between Hyde to Sonnerson, and Sonnerson is leading the train behind. So the small red dot, those are the leading 4 riders. The first 3 within 5 seconds, then a big gap back to the gang behind them.
Well, it's a bit like the engine has become uncoupled from the carriages in that Category 4 race up that climb. The riders at the front, a very small group of 3 riders, the 4th rider just tagging onto the back, and then a long line doing the chasing. And it's a long line all the way up this mountain now. This Category 2 climb, this is our Category 1 pack, and they've moved on to the lower slopes, but you can see already a couple of riders on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Distance, I say distance, Biarhead is 2 seconds back, Prado is 7 seconds back, but it is not insurmountable. If they pushed now, they could get back on, but it depends on what the rest of this group are doing.
You took the words right out of my mouth, and that's exactly what I was thinking. The ability to get back is going to be dependent on what happens in front as well. If it starts to break, that's going to change things. Now, Stefani Sanchez up at the front of this group with Daniel, with Sangsong, with Gianatti. They are continuing to push here. This is going to be very, very interesting as they move up. The group are still pretty much across the road here. They are starting to sweep up the riders in front. And on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that the first set of leaders that they're about to go past are going to be the leaders of the Category 3 race. That is the bunch directly in front of the riders at the moment. We're in with Jenny Daniel, the rider on the front with the red cap, 2 white stripes on the side. Looking at the group in front, they are the leaders in Category 3. They're about to see the leaders of Category 2 come up to them. And then in front of Category 2 will be a train of riders who've been fractured behind the lead of Category 4. That's how far they've got to go to get to the very front of the race. Daniel just moves to the side there to go over around the group. So at the moment, the catch is made. This is a moment where you have to pay attention. It's very easy to get lost in the pack of riders, to lose ground. It's also the time when our Category 3 riders needed to be very aware and attentive, because if you get a rider jumping in, and I think it's Molly Weston that is in the front group here of Category 2 riders, the Category 3 rider Weston has jumped in. I think Philippa Hall is also doing the same here. If they can stay in there, they will get a lift. They're going to be able to benefit from the draft as well as the extra motivation of staying in there and maybe getting some extra distance.
This is interesting for me in this Category 3 race because Weston is not in a team. So would they let Weston go and then look at the team competition behind? But Hill at the moment is looking to use the opportunity from the Cycling Warriors to go with Weston and potentially gain more time on the rest of that team. Now, we're also seeing Lopez and Gentili in there as well. Now, Lopez is on the same team as Hill. Gentili is one of the Warrior reindeers. The Category 3 race is not over, and it is really interesting at the moment because of the tactics on this climb. Now, this Category 2 squad who have made the catch to this front group in Category 3 are continuing to push on and continuing to stretch, and it's really elongating at the moment, and the snap is happening all over this squad. Now, looking at this though, we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those red caps at the moment. For me, that is indeed the indication that the Sunday crew, they're packing the front.
They are, and this is actually breaking into 2 groups, I think, at the moment. It's very difficult to tell from the satellite navigation's view because it is so jam-packed full of this riders and colour. We're going to take a look back. Yep, here we go. So we've got a leading group. We have got riders being broken off the back, that catch, and then the move through and past has distanced at least, I make that 3 riders, potentially 4, who have been left behind and now going to have to work. If the front pushes now, they won't get on because we still have a substantial distance to the summit. 18.7k covered of the race. We have to get to the top of the summit to reach the 20.7 kilometer mark. That means that if the front push, the back are going to have a hard time getting on. Dana Davison at the moment at 4.6 watts per kilo. She's pushing. Not sure it's as hard as the groups in category 4 here, because Bridget Bremner has company in the shape of Arias, and they have got 27 seconds on Galeno and 40 seconds to Hyde, and 1 minute 18 to Sonnerson. This is breaking big style.
Those 6 riders at the front of that category 4 pack now are the leaders on the road. There's just 6 of them left. The category 4 riders started 5 minutes before category 3 and 10 minutes before category 2. And it's the category 2 riders who, in those yellow jerseys, who are working their way through that field. It's now 5 category 4 riders in the lead, and it's led out by Bremner and Arias at the moment. Further back down the mountain, this is the category 1 race, and you can see on the bottom left hand side of your screen instantly that it is splitting Sidlick, Fua, Coinstonen, Columbi, Whitelaw, Menenzes. That is the front of the pack. Busoni is there as well. Chiara Donny just pushing on at the back. She's now been distanced with Manshandi by around 8 seconds. But this pack at the front, absolute class. This month, Coinstonen, Columbi, Fua, and Lou Bates, who's not with us today because she's only done 1 Sunday Race Cup. You need 2 verified rides to qualify for the final. So 3 of our winners of qualifying rounds are in this leading group.
So Columbi, Whitelaw, Sidlick, Fua, Coistonen, Menenzes, all in this leading group. Columbi, definitely a rider that you wouldn't discount. Busoni is in there as well. Interesting mix of riders in here. I'm just looking to see if any of the teams have managed to place 3 riders in this leading group. I can't see that at the moment. I think we've got 2 in from Croissant Crew, 2 from Risky Biscuits, and 2 from Spartan Obstacles. I make it to Stephanie Sidlick, 1 from Rule 5, but I'm going to take that on.
No, that's exactly what I've just got running through quickly.
Right, so let's stop the race now because we've just agreed. Very rarely happens. Anyone who watches this regularly, this very rarely happens, but I think we agree on the composition. And that means that the team competition is going to be
wide open.
It's wide open. It's down to that 3rd counter in the teams in category 1.
But it's also down to what time gaps these riders at the front can put in.
Yep.
And whether anyone is feeling like they've got the legs today for a breakaway in Cat 1. But we've got to remember, when you get to the top of this climb, there's still 14.3 kilometres into the finish, and a lot of that is downhill.
So with those riders at the front, that's quite a big group. If they stay together, they're going to have a good group to take over the top, but they are still a long way off. They're at that 18.7k marker where we left the riders in category 2. Category 2 now moved on to 19.5 kilometers. They've made the catch with the chasers, or at least some of the chasers, with Galliano at the moment in category 4. And it leaves 2 riders up front, about 30 seconds up the road. So the lead on the road still with Bremner and Arias in category 4. Very good riders, good climbers, and strong as well. So it may be that if they can hold on to the other side of the 16% slopes, they are going to be able to jump on board with the category 2 on the descent, where it's about aerodynamics rather than pure power.
Where you get caught on this course is absolutely essential.
It is. It's going to be really, really essential. Category 1 looks like we've got a little bit of a push on, but here in category 2, you can see the pressure being applied at the moment by Dana Davidson. Garcia is answering that. Davidson in the green shorts and jersey, the combined skin suit, as our fastest rider through the sprint section. Currently looking to add the polka dots, but Arias has now been distanced by Bremner. I think the effort to stay with Bridget Bremner has taken its toll. You can see the difference in the watts per kilo, and Arias now has got to do some quick recovery, quick recouping of energy, and then jump on board. She can't afford to drop too far back.
Not on this climb, not at this level. 12.5% the gradient is at the moment, and it's only going to get steeper to the top. Trinidad Arias, however strong she is in Cat 4, will not stay with these Cat 2 riders.
I wouldn't have thought so, but she can't drop too far back because you can see behind there is a red jersey coming up in pursuit as well. but you don't get to be this far in front on this section of climb without being a great rider, irrespective of what category you are. It shows you you're a good climber if you can climb this hard, this fast. Bremner on the front is going to be the last of the Category 4 riders to get absorbed and potentially passed by our Category 2 leaders. They're on the way up. We've got Daniel Svorstrom, Walkenhurst, Giannetti, Davidson and Garcia in the Category 2 group. This again is going to play out in terms of how the ride goes, who is going to be in for that team competition and who will be taking away the prizes. But here comes the catch. They're on the way.
So Bremner continuing to tap her way up this climb. She's been the leader on the road for some time, but it is now Giannetti who comes past. So Bremner now being passed by the leader of the Category 2 race. Giannetti's put a kick on, and often we do see that tactic, Matt. We see riders when they are moving past another race field, another category, it's an opportunity to kick and to try and put a bit of a gap in, and Giannetti's done that. It's now 3 seconds back to Dana Davison, but Davison is pushing on and pushing on hard. So is Garcia and Svardström. Those riders really do not want to let that gap go because it is not far now to the top of the climb. They are at 20.1 kilometers, just 600 meters until that polka dot banner signifying the end of this climb. And then it's downhill from there.
It is, and I was just taking a quick look at the composition of that Category 2 lead group. I think 6 riders in the lead of the group. Then there is Monica Rona, who makes the 7th rider, but she's been distanced now. It's about 15 seconds or so. Of those 6, half of the riders are in there from the Sunday crew. Davidson, Giannetti and Daniel in that leading group. You've also then got one from the Maniacs in the shape of Cecilia Garcia, whose teammate is Rona behind. Then you've got 2 from the Pirate Party Train. That is Walkenhurst and Svardström, but their third counter is not in there. So still leaves that the places behind wide open. And of course, anything can happen. If one rider has a problem in the Sunday crew who's in that lead group, then there's going to be problems. They're going to have their third counter from further back. Category 1's a bit different, isn't it?
Anything is happening in this Category 1 group as well, because at the moment, Columbi and Sidlick are putting an attack in here. Menenzes, Koinstinen, Fua are behind. Now the gap is at around 4 seconds, and they, like our Category 2 riders that we saw with the push on past the leaders in Category 4, are utilising the riders on the road that they are passing. The other categories for those pushes on, out of sight, out of mind. If there are other riders in the way, you can't particularly quickly tell. I mean, these riders are hurting at the moment. The red mist is down. They are working so hard. They are breathing so hard. Their legs are roaring with fire. It's almost like the fireworks are going off already. And Columbi is motoring her way through these riders. She is using these trailing riders to her advantage.
That's a really good point there. That perception of what is happening around you, that awareness of where everybody is, while simultaneously racing is so difficult. You know, it's a story I think I've probably told before on the Sunday Race Club, but when I was racing on the National Hill Climb in the North York Moors, it was a really long climb up to the top of Carlton Bank. National champs, giving it everything. Got to the top. I looked in front. I could see through. It was like there was a black tunnel, and I could see a thumbnail full of vision. Now, that's okay when it's just you against the clock. But here, our riders, they gave out oxygen at the top. There was a first aid station giving oxygen to riders to try and get them back in. It was really long, and it was a similar profile to this. It was steep, it was stepped, it was steep, it was stepped. It made you push into the red. Now, these riders are having to do that kind of effort, if not more, and they've got to be aware of what's going on around. It's not just the clock that they're fighting against. It is about making sure that they can see what is going on and ride tactically too.
Whilst I'm remembering why I've never raced a hill climb, we've watched the Category 2 leaders. The leaders on the road go under the polka dot banner, signifying the top of the Canberra climb. And it's Dana Davidson from Anna Sfarstrom, Julia Walkenhurst, Hannah Giannatti, Celia Garcia. These are the 5 Category 2 riders away at the moment. Jenny Daniel, 10 seconds back. Monica Rona, 26 seconds back. Marcel Smithers, 30 seconds back. Can those riders who have been distanced get together on this descent and push on to make a large front group? Well, the front group is 5 in size at the moment in that Category 2 race. My prediction, that Category 2 race is coming down to a sprint.
Between those 5 riders, I'm going to caveat that because
Ooh, okay.
you've got 5 in front, you've got 1s and 2s behind. That's going to make it more difficult unless they catch a lift with a Category 1 rider. And the Category 1 rider who's leading is Celine Colombi on your screens at the moment. She's the furthest up the road. She's not that far in front of Stephanie Sidlick. Colombi riding here for the Spartan Obstacles, a team that we've often mentioned being right at the front and the forefront of racing and has been historically for a long, long time. But you've got Sidlick in here for the Rule 5 squad, and she's going to be putting in a good time that will help the teammates behind in terms of that team competition because she's putting some time in the bank.
Well, what's really interesting here, Matt, is that Colombi's just come under that polka dot banner. She's the first Category 1 rider to do it. She's followed by Sidlick. But on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, those other Category 1 riders are not far away. And if they work together on this descent, we have seen catches being made, but those riders have got to work together. And Menendez, Koinston, Fua, Bassoni, they have all got to get their act together to bring that group back. So underneath the polka dot banner goes Catherine Fua. She's had 1 win this month. So Fua, she took the win in Belgium in qualifier race number 2. But here we can see the overall climb results, and Colombia's gone up there the fastest in 17 minutes 35 seconds, followed by Sidlick, Koinston, Menendez, Fua and Bassoni, those 6 riders in the Category 1 race. What's really interesting here, you can see the difference. Dana Davidson, the leader in the Category 2 race and the fastest in the Category 2 race, 3 minutes 23 back.
That is incredible. And if you see Vicky Whitelaw's
Whitelaw's just gone through as well.
Yeah,
you know.
Whitelaw's gone through, but that is a substantial time gap now that's going to be very difficult to close down. Now, Colombi in the polka dot skin suit there. So exchanging the yellow jersey and the black shorts for the polka dot skin suit of the fastest rider in Category 1. That's your Category 1 rider with riders in Category 2. And that means that they are going to have the advantage of having a Category 1 rider on board. Always makes a difference. If you are a lower category and you've got a faster rider, it always helps.
It does indeed, and the front group of 5 in that Category 2 race are going to need to watch out now because this Category 1 pack, well, they are going to bring the Category 2 riders back. We talked earlier in the race about the timing of the catch being absolutely crucial to the other races, and this is what I mean.
And that's happening now, isn't it? Because Bridget Bremner's about to see the same thing.
Being caught on the climb versus being caught on the descent are 2 very, very different things for your race. Getting caught on the up is of no use whatsoever because a better category, a higher, stronger powered rider is coming up and making the catch. They will go straight past you if it's 12, 13, 14%. This now is a descent and a pretty flat run to the finish. It is likely we are now going to see groups behind the leaders on the road start to bring riders through.
And we've got 2 sets of riders on your screens at the moment. Left-hand side, the leader in Category 1, that is Celine Colombi, about to come alongside the leader of Category 4. That's Bridget Bremner. Both riders in the polka dot skin suits. Colombi at the rear of the group, just in front is Bremner. They will want to all ride together. Whether they've got the pace and power to do so remains to be seen. This will aid Bremner and the Category 2 riders as well. Right-hand side of your screen, you've got the Category 2 leaders. And they are the riders that are now being chased by that group behind. There are going to be changes, I think, because of the way that the draft will work, because you'll be going to be able to jump on board. Dana Davidson, I think, Anna Sfarstrom, Julia Walkenhurst, Cecilia Garcia, Jenny Daniel, all aware of that. There are groups in between. It is not as simple as just 2 groups on the road. However, our leaders here are really starting to try and make ground. Jenny Daniel is caught in no man's land in between, as is Hannah Giannetti. They are solo riders. The difference cannot be stressed enough here between riding solo and riding in a group. Yes, the descent is over quickly because you're going downhill, but the amount of time you can lose is horrendous.
Daniel and Giannetti are teammates. These two need to get together. Daniel needs to wait for Giannetti. The two of them need to work together. They are teammates. They are both going to benefit by Team 2-Up time trial.
And if they keep pushing, one of them will be in the top 5. If they can keep on pushing and they're not caught behind. If they wait, you could well see that you're going to have people coming up, and that is in the shape of Monica Rona.
But that's where you need to play a team race, not an individual race.
If the people behind come up, you're going to be in trouble because you just suddenly reduce the odds of you being right at the front. Now, Sidlake has got Koivunen in her sights on your screen. They are chasing down. Columbia's 11 seconds in front. That is a substantial gap still. And I think Columbia benefiting from the group of Category 2 riders who are still around there. They are still in the same pack. It is one pack going down. So you can see that Zimmerman, Tacona, Sanchez have got Columbia for company. Koivunen is going to see Stephanie Sidlick coming onto her wheels. And Menezes is 11 seconds behind. And now the choice is push as 2, Sidlick and Koivunen, or wait what is potentially sub 10 seconds for Menezes and get that third rider.
Well, what is really interesting is that all 4 of those riders, the first 4 riders in the Category 1 race, are from 4 different teams. So this is going to be interesting to see how hard they race and whether they help each other and work together and continue to push, because they are all going to want the time gaps to help the rest of their squads.
So Menezes at the moment 7 seconds behind Sidlick, 10 seconds behind Koivunen, has McAlpine for company, but McAlpine, a Category 2 rider, would be very justified in just sitting on the wheels of Sidlick. But this is all going to be about who has got the pace, who's got the power, who can continue to push. Category 1 chase, really intriguing on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, you've got Celine Columbia, the leader in Category 1, now starting to squeeze.
She's bringing
on
those
the front.
riders back, you know. She is working to stay in the front of the Category 1 race, and in doing so, because it has been a long downhill and we're now on that flat section, you know, she is leading this group. She is towing these Category 2 riders, and all they need to do is sit in her draft for as long as possible. And I say that, and Columbia pushes on. You know, we've got a small hill here. It's just going up the gradient, just shy of 4% at the moment. And Columbia, you can see she's got that extra power from those Category 2 riders that have taken the benefit of her tow and her draft up until this point.
They have, and now they are sandwiched between Columbia and a chasing Mina Coinston, who is just about coming into sight behind. He just about pick out that figure behind Celine Columbia, and that means that the chase is coming. It's 8 seconds to Coinston, and it may well be, in fact, that it's Coinston and Columbia who come together here rather than Koivunen and Sidlick. This is Mina Koivunen. You can see as we come back into town that she's about to make the catch, and she will now have the benefit, if they're on a section where the riders in Category 2 can work, of that extra draft, of that extra advantage. And it's going to mean that Columbia is now disadvantaged as they come through. You can see right-hand side of your screen now, the leaders on the road. That is your Category 2 race lead. They're not much further down the road.
1,000 meters is how much further they are down the road. Garcia, Walkenhurst, Svardstrom is in here. Davidson is there. 4 riders clear. 18 seconds back to Daniel and Giannetti. Another 20 seconds back to Rona, then Smithers. And then it is the Category 1 leader, Columbia. She's currently worked her way into the top 10 now. Those Category 1 races, they started 15 minutes behind Category 4. They've gone through the Category 4 pack. They started 10 minutes behind Category 3. They've gone through the Category 3 pack. They started started 5 minutes behind Category 2, and there are 8 Category 2 riders in front of them now. That is all that stands between Columbia, Coincident, and the other Category 1 riders and the lead of this race.
So here we go, coming back down into town.
She's in sight.
They're coming together. Will it be a party in Osborne Park, which is going to be kicking off at 5 p.m. tonight? Will they be at the party early, or will they be waiting for the fireworks, the real fireworks in Wollongong going off by the harbour and by the lighthouse? Going to be at 9 p.m. tonight. So if you're in the area, 9 p.m. Before that, we've got lots of chance to watch, not just the end of this, the women's race on the Sunday Race Club in December, but of course the men's, which will be coming up after this race. Please do make sure you tune in for that as well. We are looking forward to that, but before that, we have the finish of our December finals in the Sunday Race Club. An absolutely intriguing as well as action-packed race as our riders make the way down. At the moment, we have a pursuit, akin to something that you would see on the track. Coiston pursuing Columbia, picking up riders on the way through as well. Zimmerman with a big squeeze here is going to assist, I think, Coiston in the chase. Columbia's at 4 seconds in the white polka dot jersey at the front of these 4 riders. Coiston is behind. And I tell you something, Mina Coiston has been doing some strength training. She's not just been on the bike. Coiston has been doing some strength training, and I think that is showing in the power. Been in the gym rather than just doing straight cycling, and that is really working well.
Coiston's been coming back from injury.
Yeah.
You know, and part and parcel of that is getting your strength back and doing other things when you can't be on the bike. You know, so part and parcel of that training is definitely working for Mina Coiston, and she is coming back absolutely now into fitness from that injury. And we are seeing the evidence of that in front of us today as Celine Columbia is the rider who Mina Coiston can see. They are coming back together. This is going to be really interesting, not just for the Category 1 race, but for the Category 2 race as well.
And if I was a Category 2 rider, if I was Marcel Smithers or Joanna Zimmerman, I would be wanting to hold on to those wheels for grim death like it was the end of the race. Because if you can hold these wheels over this little section of climb, here we go, over the bridge at 4.5%, you've got a chance to stay on. Because the next key point, the really big key point, we need to go through the Canberra Sprint, which comes up at 31 kilometres. And just out of the other side of it is the last big rise before we drop into our finish. It's a long, gradual drag relative to the rest of this run-in. If you ignored the Canberra climb and the tunnels, it's actually one of the bigger climbs on the circuit. And that could be really telling. So the section into the finish here is going to be key. Our 2 leaders in Category 1 are on the way. Let's have a little look at the end of the section. Let's just point this out maybe a little bit clearer than I can explain it. So the Canberra Sprint is the green line on your right-hand side of your screen. After that, it's a slight dip, but then you can see it rises up between the 31-kilometre marker and the 35k finish. Pretty much at about 33k, you're coming over the summit of that long drag into the finish. That is a breakaway point. That is where you can put people in trouble. And that is where I think our Category 2 riders with our Category 1 leaders may well be shed. If not, they're then on the run into that technical run into the finish. And that close to the finish, I think people will turn themselves inside out to stay in contention.
That's one of those moments, isn't it? When your legs hurt, you just have to remember everybody else's legs hurt as well. And there is 5 kilometres to go in most of our races now as they come to the latter part of this 35-kilometre course.
So here we go, back into the action, and we're in with Mina Coiston and Celine Columbia. Smithers and Zimmerman are just about hanging on. I would be sat there. This is those moments when you're outside, where you're sat staring at the back wheel, the hub of the rider in front, the rear tyre. You're just nailing it to stay there because you know that you're with somebody who's quicker than you, but you know that this advantage, being able to sit with them, is pulling you back to the people in front. That's what we're seeing now. We just saw very briefly the riders in front on our screen. Walkenhurst leading the riders through the sprint. We've had 6 riders through in the lead. Now these riders are chasing behind. They are going to be the riders who are in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th positions, I think, on the course. If we get this, if the numbers are quite correct, there may be one rider in between. But at the moment, the Category 1 lead, they are clear. Stephanie Sidlick is steadily losing time. Let's not lose sight of the fact that behind these 2 riders, there is a whole host of riders who are trying to get back in and to stay inside the top 5 for the individual prizes and do the business for the team.
But the race is not just for the top 5. Every position counts in this race because those seconds count in the team competition. And interesting to see, take a look at that final sprint today. It's Walkenhurst from Category 2, from the Pirate Party train, 29.459 seconds. Dana Davidson Sunday Crew, Monica Rona Maniacs, Jenny Daniels Sunday Crew, Celia Garcia Maniacs, Hannah Giannatti Sunday Crew, Anna Svardstrom Pirate Party train. And then we get Tamina Koivunen, Risky Biscuits Cat 1, but it's just one Cat 1 rider at the moment through that sprint. Zimmerman rounding out that top 9.
And what for me was very interesting on there, the time gap. You could see that Koivunen, after being fast enough to chase back the riders that have been distanced from the lead group, was at 0.78 of a second, so just under a second slower through the sprint. And that means that the impetus that Koivunen had to catch Columbi has been done, and the riders in front now are starting to push on.
Talking about impetus to catch Fua, Whitelaw and Menendez, well, they've just come through in 3rd, 4th and 5th. The momentum is there behind for the chase in Category 1.
But we're only talking fractions of a second, yeah?
Well, we're talking quite different powers, actually. So what's per kilo? So Koivunen and Columbi and going through at around 3.9. Fua, Whitelaw and Menendez going through 4.4 to 4.5. So there's a concerted effort behind at the moment.
There's a concerted effort. Will it pay off? We're going to find out. You've got at the moment the chase from Menendez on the right-hand side of your screen. She's chasing Stephanie Sidlick. Sidlick is chasing our 2 leaders in Category 1. They're on the left-hand side of your screen. They are on this big climb now at 32.5 kilometers. As you see, Menendez is coming on now. Can Koivunen and Columbi stay clear? Dare they go solo at this point? Do they need to go solo to maintain that lead? They've got to keep pushing them. On the right-hand side of your screen, they are the leaders on the road. It's the Category 2 leaders. As predicted, the left-hand side shows just Category 1 riders, as the Category 2 chasers have been distanced on this hillside. So as the gradient goes up, the Category 2, as Emma said, have not held the wheel. The right-hand side, the leaders are up there. Have they got enough time to stay away? We're going to see.
Well, that's what we would expect, Matt. We would expect during the climb those Category 2 riders to drop back. But at the moment now, 600 metres separates Koivunen and Columbi, the leaders in the Category 1 race, from the front of this race, as Dana Davidson takes the opportunity to push on now. So Davidson pushing on, but Garcia, Walkenhurst and Svardstrom quickly covering that move, because there are not many opportunities now for them to push on an attack. They've got 1.3 kilometres, 1.2 kilometres now till they see the finish line. There is not many places left. If one of those riders wants to try a breakaway or a long run to the finish, I think this is going to come down to that sprint I predicted earlier.
I think it is. It's going to be a group sprint, a small group sprint on the right-hand side of your screen for the win in Category 2. Up on the big screen here. So you've got in the polka dot jersey with the red dots, you've got Davidson. You have got Garcia, Svardstrom, and Walkenhurst all in the green now. Let's try and pick a few out for you. So the white helmet in the green, that is going to be Garcia. We have got the white polka dot skin suit of Davidson. Svardstrom has the yellow cap, who's going on to the front of first here. And we're going to see the white bike helmet. That is Julia Walkenhurst. So going to be very interesting. Red hair, Walkenhurst. White helmet, brown hair, that is going to be Garcia. At the front is Svalstrom.
Well, Svalstrom is now pushing at 9 watts per kilo because there's 400 meters to go. So the final race of 2023, this is the finale in December of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 200 meters to go. Dana Davison comes up alongside Svalstrom. Walkenhurst kicks and go round. She's put the effort in later as they swing round the left-hand corner. They're going to see the finish line as Walkenhurst, Svalstrom, Davidson. Svalstrom kicks. She's going to go over the top. Svalstrom takes the win. Davidson in 2, Walkenhurst in 3. Garcia is going to come through from 4th. We're going to get that result confirmed. But the Category 2 race came down to a sprint as Moina Koinstinen kicks on in the Category 1 race with 600 meters to go.
So 600 meters to go in the Category 1 race. Your top 5 in Category 2. Left-hand side of your screen. Svalstrom, Davison, Walkenhurst, Garcia and Gianatti. The Category 1 race is going to be a 2-up sprint. Selena Colombi in the polka dot. You have got Mina Koinstinen in the yellow jersey. These riders want to get the fastest time, but they want to take the win.
Well, Colombi's gone. Koinstinen is covering it. So Mina Koinstinen swings to the left-hand side of the road. She uses that steering to go clear of Colombi. So Koinstinen moving out. Colombi no draft as Koinstinen comes round the corner. She's kicking, but Colombi is going as well. Can Koinstinen hold this? Will Colombi come? Koinstinen takes the win. We said she was back. Welcome back, Mina Koinstinen, and welcome to 2024.
Well, that's a win to take through for Koinstinen. It's Koinstinen from Colombi. There, your 1-2 so far. Stephanie Sidlick with a lonely end to this race, having to work her way through the Category 2 riders on her own. And at the moment, looking like she should be secure for the 3rd place in the competition in Category 1 at the moment. Very fast race here today in our December finals. And Stephanie Sidlick is going to make her way around the turn for Rule 5. So there'll be the first counter for Rule 5 is Sidlick behind. The run for the line is between Menezes, Fua and Whitelaw. Now, I think it is going to be Menezes who's going to come through to take that 4th place.
Well, she's coming through to take 4th place, but the fight is on between Fua and Whitelaw behind. Fua kicks, so did Whitelaw. They're side by side as Fua digs again. In fact, I think Fua has just taken that from Whitelaw, but that was a battle of the Titans.
It certainly was, and it's going to be a very interesting set of results come through. In team competitions, we have Sunday Crew, I think, just finishing in front of the Pirate Party Training Category 2. Category 1 still to be decided because we don't have 3 riders in from any of our Category 1 teams at the moment. So in Category 1, Mina Koinstinen in 1, Selene Colombi in 2, Stephanie Sidlick in 3 with Justiniana Menezes in 4, Catherine Fua in 5, Vicky Whitelaw in 6, we've got Amelia Welt in 7, we've got Donny in 8 and in 9, Roberta Bassoni. That is the riders that are in at the moment. Emma.
I can tell you.
Quick.
The Risky Biscuits have got it.
Risky Biscuits. Subject confirmation have taken it with Koinstinen, with Fua and with Donny. The fastest time that shouldn't be able to be beaten now. So, wow. A fantastically furious race for the finales at the end of the year in December. It's been a pleasure putting words to the action all through 2023. Hopefully we'll be here for all 2024. We're certainly going to be kicking off the new year, and that is in 1 week's time. It's been a pleasure putting the words to the action with my co-host here, the one and only Emma Martin. Emma, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at Biking Emma. Please do get in touch. If you are joining us for 2024, perfect time to join the Sunday Race Club. New year, new you, new racing.
Well, Emma's heading off to the 80s and 90s music night at the La La La's in the City Beach in Wollongong, I'm sure, after all of the racing today. Me, I'm going to find a dark room and lay down after that. Oh, no, I better get some coffee. It's the men's race. It's coming up. We'll see you there from Emma and myself, Matt Payne. Stay safe and a happy new year.